Welcome to this panel discussion on building enduring infrastructure for communities of color. We have gathered a group of insightful leaders from diverse sectors and backgrounds to dive into essential questions about leadership, equity, and enduring infrastructure. In this thought-provoking conversation, our panelists will explore their personal insights, experiences, and observations related to the challenges and opportunities we face as leaders committed to creating positive change. Question 1. What resonated with you the most from our cross-sector community insights that we shared in the presentation, given your personal experiences and observations as leaders?
Everything resonated with me. I was looking up the Dakota word, trying to find a word, talking to people about a word for to thrive recently. My organization, the organization I work for, we've been doing focus group conversations across the country with Native nonprofit leaders around really similar questions, and so that's part of why I'm so excited to be part of this, is what we're finding really aligns on a national level with Native nonprofit leaders, really aligns with what we're finding right here in Minnesota Makoche. And so when I was looking up the word to thrive, the word that stood out to me was wichichacha. And what that word means, wicha is it makes it plural, it means they. Chacha is to grow. So basically it means to collectively grow. And that's what got me so excited about being a part of this. You know, when I look at the findings so far and I'm hearing the conversations that are happening, it's this recognition that we're all in this together. And doing it from the perspective in particular of communities of color, of Indigenous communities.
What resonated with me is it's damn hard to be a leader of color out in these streets. And I say that because it is. I say that because the information revealed the hidden challenges of leadership and what we're navigating, both in community looking for resources within institutions. It demonstrated to me the weight that we are carrying because we didn't come in for a position, we came in on purpose in a pathway that has no clean lines between the work, the role, the community, the expectations that we hold for ourselves. And so with the consideration of the difference of the weight, of the priorities, what is now required, and the way that we work is very different. But the way that we support people in leadership has not changed.
Now we have more posse members, people of color, Indigenous caucus, and there were 19 of us in the House and the Senate. That is historical. We've never had that many people, and yet within ourselves, the diversity is not only a challenge for white people and white institutions, it is for people of color as well. That we are socialized by the same institution that socialize white people, and when we get to this space, if we don't dismantle what we've been taught about other groups, we will show up and do the exact same thing white people have done.
We do need new approaches, and we have had approaches that have centered power structures and haven't centered people proximate to the issue. And so what I love about what we're doing with Rooted to Last is that we have real people who are, you've had your institutional roles, but you're also connected to community in very deep ways. And I believe in the importance of that connection and how that connection can lead to stronger results. And then you've also engaged, the wisdom circle, which includes people who have wisdom that's rooted in their experiences in community, not just in professional roles, and not to diminish professional roles, but also people who have the intersection of really deep professional experience as well as lived experience with some of the issues that we need to address in our community.
Question 2. How can we establish enduring infrastructure while also ensuring that leaders receive the essential support and resources required to maintain a sense of balance and well-being in their lives? Could you share any strategies or practices you've encountered or employed that promote leaders thriving and resilience in their roles?
I think the most important factors are a supportive leader and a supportive board that can see the gifts in your contributions and understand that how they support you is based on what you say you need for support, not what they want to give you for support, or not the the structures of support that have existed in the past. So, for instance, for me, one of the things that I needed was time to just get away. It's really hard to get away without a really full agenda. Like, you gotta go to a conference and you gotta do 14-hour days there to just sort of get away, or feel like you just went on a plane to do more work than you would have did when you were home, sort of thing. But, And so the idea of having support to just go and think and process and get on the balcony, I think that we underestimate that as good work to refresh, to reflect, and to create strategy. And so I do think that there has to be a shift that is driven by the leader communicating what the needs are and the organization's willingness to hear that.
Recently, I wrote out a bio for another panel or a presentation I'm giving, and I wrote, I'm a Dakota woman striving to find balance in an unbalanced world. So I don't know. It's a journey, trying to figure it out.
It is deeply personal work. Everything you all are doing every day is deeply personal work. And what I have learned is that what works for me is that I can't stop doing it. I don't know how to stop doing this work. But what I do know is that I need to work with leaders who understand that today, when I can help educate people why they're being idiots, then like I do it. But some days, I just don't have it in me, and I say to them, not today. Today is not your day, and today I am not your teacher.
Question 3. How can we guarantee that investments are more than just a response to a particular moment, but rather a lasting dedication to equity? What strategies or mechanisms can be employed to avert the rubber band effect and guarantee a consistent and substantial flow of resources into our communities?
A couple of things. One is, this is a time to be in communication internally within the organization, externally within community, and certainly with funding and government communities and institutions. That's when institutions, government, need to be willing to be in partnership, to be in community. When people started saying, when funders started saying, well, COVID's over, oh, well, the George Floyd, awful tragedy and the aftermath, people are now settling down. It's like, I'm sorry, those things don't go away. I mean, COVID, my community and other communities are still feeling the impact of COVID. People are still dying every day. We have youth that don't have parents anymore. We have youth whose parents have been deported during this time of COVID. So funders have to be willing to listen to community and not feel like they know. They need to figure out what they don't know. And the only way to figure out what they don't know is to be in partnership. That's where trust and transparency is critical. If we don't have that, we don't have anything.
I don't think you should be upset that I'm asking this board to be primarily made up of Black and brown people, right? And I remembered that was the part that was going to fund everything we were going to, because the hard part now is we don't have dedicated revenue sources to do things that we care about in our communities. And so I keep trying to raise revenues, and that just doesn't work well at the legislature. But I do have a 5th-tier bill that raises $500 million a year on the top 1,000 earners. 1,000 people can generate $500 million for us. And that is not going anywhere. And the truth is that we can't do the work that we want to do without dedicated revenue and ongoing dedicating revenues to do so. And so I think that's really important, whether you're in government or whether you're a foundation, to say this money is going towards this type of work, and we don't get to determine what that type of work is. The community does. That's really important, I think.
I just want to add that yes to everything that has been said, but we also need to build our own institutions. The predictability of engaging during a crisis and retrenching after, it's predictable behavior. And it is a bit of the evolution of the Black Collective Foundation when we started out as a statement, and then Rapal, Lolita, and I got together, and it's like, it will be lost if we don't build an institution that can hold the moment, right? That we were founded for this, but we can create something that will invest in the genius of Black-led leadership into the future, into generations. So I think that there is a piece of teaching and moving. There's another piece of bringing our own brilliance and creating our own institutions.
Question 4. What measures or initiatives do you think are essential to bolster solidarity, forge alliances, and enhance collective endeavors within communities of color?
And I think the rest of us have to figure out, how do we support that? How do we stand in solidarity with them, even though we might not be gaining from the end result? What we do gain is the fact that we build community together, and there may be something we learn from that process, or that others learn from the process. And then there are the times where we must learn to stand together, where we must learn who's needed to do that, because I might be needed for some role in that, but there may be other community members or other leaders that can play other roles, like who harnesses people together, who goes after and talks to the individual that's most against maybe building solidarity for a specific cause, yet it would benefit their community as well.
Notice who isn't in the room. Whatever rooms you go into, who's not there? And why is that? And I come from a community that is sometimes called statistically insignificant. We're the original people of this land, and we're in the other category. That's a problem. And if we're not in the room, I'm in so many advisory committees, policy committees, national nonprofit policy committees, and there's very few Native folks. And oftentimes we start big with a conversation, and they want all my input, and I give it, and then at the end, well, we got to cut the agenda down to the low-hanging fruit and what's going to benefit everybody, and our stuff all gets cut out. I can't be the only one left advocating no, that needs to stay in. When you see, policy agendas that talk about allocation of funding for local, state, federal, government, tribal, always. Doesn't have to be a Native person to bring that up. So that's solidarity. That's noticing who isn't in the room, and it's stepping in when we need you to step in, and doing something about it.
Question 5. What gives you the greatest sense of hope as we contemplate the path ahead? And what do you believe is required to unlock and mobilize support and investment for leaders and organizations in our community?
I am incredibly encouraged by the leadership that I see emerging, because we often talk about the racial uprising as though there was, without seeing what came out of it, that was also good. It was a horrible time, but because of it emerged some new innovations, new energy, new conversations, and younger people coming and approaching life different in ways that have been truly inspirational. The level of boldness that I think that we continue to walk in, I think if we want to go as bold as we can, we have to have places and spaces that protect those that are operating that way. I'm hopeful for the energy, and I'm hopeful that we can create the conditions for the boldness that we're carrying every day but suppressing to be released.
I have hope because I see the energy, I see the passion, and I think what we have to do is we have to have a commitment to be in relationship with those who are on the front lines. The reality is that we haven't seen any social movement that was successful without young people really being centered within that.
My son gives me hope. He's a constant reminder of why I'm here and why I'm doing what I do. Our word for baby is Wakaisha, sacred being. We're born with these gifts, and it's up to us, it's up to the grown-ups to create the environment for the cultivation of those gifts, to help them to recognize, identify, and access those gifts. We actually know what we need to do, but we need to access that. And my son reminds me of that every day.
I have to have hope in order to move forward. And we have to be able to share that hope and those dreams and those possibilities with our community members. Community leadership is about using everything we have, everything, our networks, our skills, our relationships, et cetera, everything we have to work with others to build and support healthy communities. It's about our collective community leadership development, and that means my neighbor can be even a stronger leader than a corporate president at times, because that's who the community needs to listen to or wants to listen to. So that gives me hope.
Our persistence gives me hope that despite all that we carry with us, our generational trauma, our continued persistence of the racism and all the isms that affect our lives today, that we continue to persist. That gives me hope.
And that concludes our enlightening panel discussion on building enduring infrastructure and support for communities of color. We want to extend our heartfelt thanks to our esteemed panelists for sharing their valuable insights and experiences. As we move forward, let's remember the importance of solidarity, collective efforts, and sustained commitment to equity in our journey toward a more brighter future. We hope this conversation has inspired you, as it has inspired us, to take meaningful actions that will unlock and unleash support and investment for leaders and organizations in our communities. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to continuing this crucial dialogue in our shared pursuit of enduring change.